Good morning. Welcome to day 4, leg day of week 6 of our 20-week cut. We're going to start out with squats. And I do use these little knee, not like braces, I don't know what you call them, sleeves. More than anything, I started using them at one point, and then I've just gotten used to them. So they're a little bit of a pain to slip on under my pants, but I'm just used to them. Also, you'll see one of the workouts I do is the Nordic hamstring curl, and it's nice having a little bit of extra cushion. I do also use squat platform shoes. I try really to only use those for squatting. Some workouts I will keep them on the whole leg day workout. Sometimes I will switch. So for example, today I will do some Romanian deadlifts, and it's actually a little bit better to have a fuller range of motion with your heel not lifted. With your heel, I want to feel a tug in my hamstrings, so I will swap shoes for that. Also experimenting with camera placement. I'm going to try and see if I can just put it someplace where it doesn't have to be in the tracking thing, because if I were watching these, which I watch them to edit them and post them and stuff, I think it's kind of annoying to be moving around as much as it has been. If you enjoy the movement, let me know. All 2 of you that have watched. I'm just joking, but also serious. Alright. Stool. Squat bar. Of note for today, it is Thanksgiving. And I'm thankful. I'm grateful for lots and lots and lots of things. My kids don't think I'm thankful for anything because I haven't added feathers to the Thanksgiving turkey in our kitchen. But I am thankful. I'm thankful for my family. Thankful for being able to be healthy, to work out, and to be in shape. I'm grateful to have technology to be able to try and share some of my insights. Yeah, there's just too much to be thankful for. So we're going to start out with our warm-up at 1:55. I will try and give a couple of tips for nutrition and trying to, if you're an unfortunate soul like me who has decided to cut over the holidays, what are some things that you can do to not compromise your cut, but also not cause drama at a family gathering? We'll talk about that. Let's get this. Knee pops, great. Let's get going and then we'll get talking. Squats. Squats can be a little bit of a touchy subject in the workout world. Just people, as far as form goes. Well, I mean, yeah, mostly around form, also around how to progressive overload, what kinds you should do and all that. But yeah, so there's a lot of different opinions on where to place the bar on your back, high or in your mid back, and then that kind of influences then your upper body position as you go down. Technically, the more upright, the better, especially if you're in Olympic weightlifting, right? Because if you're trying to do any kind of like split squats or overhead presses and stuff in a squat position, you're gonna need that mobility to stand up. For powerlifting, it's important to have some mobility, but not a crazy amount. And then also, how low do you go? How low? No. I'm a fan of full range of motion. However, I'm not like squeezing my parts of my knees together. I'm not trying to touch my bottom to the floor, but I am definitely trying to go to 90 or past 90 degrees. So, getting my knees like maybe like that. Obviously if you're just going, you're not getting anything out of that. So I like to go, oh yeah, or there. And back position, I don't even really think about it anymore. I just put it in the place that's comfortable. I think that for me that's lower, because up higher, that kind of messes with my past back injury. I think it like, I can feel it on my spine too much. So I like to kind of rest it right above like my scapulas, essentially, like make like a little shelf. And I don't like to go much too lower than that, because then it feels like it's gonna fall. Some coffee. You can get different types of squats based off of your knee or your feet position. Obviously you don't want to be super narrow or super duper wide, but within an acceptable range, a little bit narrower, like shoulder width or just slightly in, I think I find works the front, like works my quads a little bit more, versus going a little bit wider. Feels like it's working the posterior chain, the hamstrings and glutes a little bit more. I just shoot for like something that's like kind of just outside of shoulder width, because that's where I feel the strongest. I remember my biggest struggle with squatting. All through high school, all through college, when I was doing CrossFit after college, my knees want to buckle, right? They want to, as I'm coming up and it gets too heavy, they want to go like this. And so I just really focus on really thinking about externally rotating these knees, almost like rolling my feet out to the outside edges. Not like drastically, I'm not, my shoes are still firmly planted on the ground. They're not rolling, but, definitely you're more powerful that way. And it's just like, you know, when your knees come in, that's you're trying to get stable, but you're less stable. All right, well, I already did 2 of these at this weight, right? So let's bump it up. We need to bump it up. Let's do 25. What are you thankful for today? I'm wondering. Sometimes it can feel like everything's going right and you have so much to be thankful for. Sometimes it can feel like there's not much to be thankful for. And that's okay. I think we can get bent out of shape on making sure that everyone's hunky-dory. Sometimes you're not hunky-dory and you don't want to be forced to feel that way. I personally am okay sitting in a little bit of sadness sometimes. Staying there for a long, long time, maybe not the best, but staying there for a good while, it can help you process through some stuff. Especially if you're doing other things to help process, like exercising. Yeah, let's get... Getting nice and warm, feeling stretch, starting to sweat a little bit. Around 285. So, I'm gonna take off the jacket. Let's see if that mic placement is okay. Feels like it's gonna be. So it's Thanksgiving. Go over to your uncle's house or whoever. You got tons of food. Turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, green beans, green bean casserole, hash brown casserole, deviled eggs, sweet potato casserole, sweet potato pie, cranberry sauce, if you're into that. And you think, gosh, there's no way I'm going to be able to get 1,600 calories. There's no way I'm going to be able to do 1,800. You're probably right. Because you also might need to eat breakfast. This is assuming your meal is at lunch, and then you're also going to need to eat something later in the day. So I think like one of the biggest and actually one of the hardest tips is to keep it to one plate. For me, like in my everyday normal life, that's really hard to do. Like going to family gatherings, there are research articles or papers that say it's social eating contributes to overeating, or maybe not so dire of a kind. You tend to eat more when you're eating with people. Let's not call it overeating. Let's just say when you're alone, you tend to eat less. When you're with other people, you tend to eat a little bit more. All right. Now, I actually think that starting your cut, a few weeks before Thanksgiving gives you a little bit of an advantage, because hopefully, if you're like me right now, you're kind of used to eating a little bit less. You've gotten into a rhythm of it. And so I think that temptation to go back for a second plate goes down a little bit more. But that's the first tip. Keep it to one plate, one serving. Don't go back for seconds unless it's turkey breast. That's the great thing about Thanksgiving. The main dish at a lot of people's Thanksgiving is one of the leanest, highest protein sources that there is. Turkey breast. Get some white turkey breast. All right. And yes, for those of you who are interested, the weight is 285. And last week we did 3 sets of 4. So I did 5 on that one. So even if I only do 4 in the next 2, should be good. But yeah, keep it to one plate at Thanksgiving. I would say the next thing would be thinking about portions. I'm not advising that you take your scale, your food scale, to Thanksgiving. You know, it kind of depends on how much grief you want to get for it. Since I'm trying to be really, I don't want to say strict, but I want to have good adherence to my weekly average. I do care about not going over 2,900 calories today. So I am going to bring my scale, but I'm not going to bring it in line like we do, like kind of like a buffet or family style, or what do you call it? Potluck kind of a thing. I'm not going to take it in line and weigh things out. I'm going to eyeball, I'm going to make sure that the thing that I get the most of is turkey breast. I'm going to try and eyeball some mashed potatoes and some green beans, some deviled eggs. And then when I get to my seat, I will have my scale. And I will, as I'm eating, I will weigh it before, and I'll eat my turkey. That's the thing I care the most about. I want to make sure I'm adequately measuring my protein. So I will figure out, I'll put my plate on I'll just kind of put my scale down and put my plate on it and just eat from there. I'll tear it, and then I'll eat the turkey and see, okay, the turkey was, 100 grams, or I think I'm probably going to actually be shooting for like 300 or 400 grams. And then kind of same thing with the mashed potatoes. I'll eat those, see how much they weighed. With the green beans, I'm less concerned. I'll kind of just eyeball, a half cup or a cup. Deviled eggs, easy. One serving is 1/2 an egg, right? So I'll just do it right there at the table and try to be a little, I'm not going to draw attention to it or be conspicuous. But it would also be fine if I didn't do that. I think for most people, for most cuts, you don't need to bring a scale. My family kind of knows that I do this from time to time. And as long as I'm not drawing attention to it, no one's going to give me a hard time or ask about it. I'm not going to be interfering with anyone else's good time. And then dessert, it's a holiday. Like, if you're on an extreme cut, you're probably not having a lot of dessert. Like, treat yourself. Like this is the one time, this is like the one day this month that I'm like, yeah, it's going to be okay to have some pumpkin pie. So that is, I talked about the multiple plates being the hardest thing. For me, actually, maybe the hardest thing would be limiting the desserts, because I'll be the guy who's like, yeah, I'll take some pumpkin pie, I'll take a cinnamon roll, some ice cream. My plan for today is the things that I really am looking forward to, if they are there, are pumpkin pie and cinnamon rolls. We make some really good cinnamon rolls. But what I'll do is I will whatever like a portion size is, I'm gonna cut that in half. So like I was looking earlier, the pumpkin pie, like the serving size is like 109 or 110 grams. So I'll cut that in half. I'll like hopefully cutting that piece in half and going with 50 grams will be, or 55 grams. And the same thing with the cinnamon roll. I'll split it in half. I'll ask if someone else wants the other half. But then I've gotten 2 desserts, but it's basically like 1 dessert, if that makes sense. And then again, I'll just leave it at 1 serving of dessert. I'm not gonna go back for more. All right, we got 5 on the first one. Let's try and get, at least 4, 5 if we're feeling good. I think I'll leave it at 4. Hoping that I can get 5 on the last one. I'm not trying to overdo it. I still have, 14, 15 more weeks to go. Progressive overload doesn't mean unreasonable, trying to hurt yourself, going all out overload. It means pushing yourself more than you did last week. Some people may say, well, that's why you're small. If you watch some of these powerlifters or these bodybuilders and powerlifters, they're not leaving anything in the tank, man. True. I will watch like Sam Sulek do his reps. He does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however, and then he does, half reps or whatever to failure until he can't go anymore. There's a reason why he's a professional bodybuilder and I'm not. This isn't all I do though, right? To me, it's more important to do something to make sure that I am doing progressive overload without overdoing it and overexerting, to make sure I still do have energy the rest of the day, especially when I'm going to cut, so that I am not super impatient with my kids, which I kind of have been lately. And I think it's because I'm starting to get hangry in the evenings. But that only gets worse if you're sore and feeling overexerted and like you have 0 energy on top of that. So yeah, I don't know. That's my opinion. Do progressive overload, but don't kill yourself. I also want to make sure that my body can handle this over the next 15 weeks, right? I want to make sure that I'm not going to fully deplete myself. I'm not going to tweak something, because that sucks. I've been there. I've been like in the middle of a workout routine, like a plan, and pulled my hamstring playing ultimate frisbee. And that's the typical dad thing to do. Go out and pull your muscles, right? But if you're interested, I can talk about what hamstring rehabilitation has looked like for me. One of the workouts I do today, the Nordic, is part of that. It's part of the active rehabilitation and prevention. One more. Ooh. I don't know if you could see it there. My legs wanted to go in. At the last one, they wanted to buckle. That's my struggle there. All right. Next up is Romanian deadlifts. Now we're doing at 145. Since I have hamstring issues, I like to do hamstring workouts. One of the things I wish I had in this home gym, I just don't have the space for it though, or the money, is like a curl, like a hamstring curling station, right? Or a quad extension. So I don't have anything to really isolate those. So I have to look for other workouts, other movements. One of those is Romanian deadlifts. Works the posterior chain. Another one is Nordic hamstring curls, which we'll see after this. And I do switch shoes for the what are these RDLs? Because the elevated heel is going to prevent me from getting the same stretch that I could get in flatter shoes. Now I am wearing, I mean, these are also have a slightly elevated heel. They're nanos, but I mean, not super elevated. It's like a mild, not compared to actual weightlifting shoes. I do also do single leg RDLs sometimes with dumbbells. But I like doing RDLs with a barbell on both legs to also help work on my grip strength. I mentioned on Tuesday how when I was doing deadlift, that grip strength is one of the things I'm working on. So this is one way to help with that. How many am I doing? 13. Oh. Nope. I just need to go up to 155 and do 8 or 9. I did 145 on the first set last week and got 13, so that's why I thought 145. But since I did 13 reps, I bumped it up. But I did not see that. All right, here we go. RDLs, and I just realized something super gross. I haven't put on deodorant. Luckily, I have a bathroom right here with deodorant for just such occasion. Man, all the people in this gym can probably smell me. It's an underrated, overlooked value of a home gym. Unless you bring deodorant. I mean, maybe you bring deodorant in your bag to the gym, I guess. So you could avoid that embarrassment. But if you don't, I don't know, what would you do? Would you go home? Or would you just hope that no one notices? I don't know, man. It's tough because you drove all the way there. You don't want that workout to be for nothing. For me, I think it would kind of depend on how many people are there. If it's just me and like another guy, I'm okay stinking next to you. Maybe I don't see you again. Maybe I do, and I apologize next time. If there's like a decent amount of people, especially women, I want to be courteous to the other sex. I'd probably cut it short. I wouldn't just leave right away. I'd want to make sure I get at least my squats in, like whatever like the heavy lift is, the compound lift for the day. This is, I can't believe we're talking about this. All right. Maybe I'll put it in the thumbnail. Forgot deodorant. Well, I gotta be honest, I'm probably feeling that more in my forearms and my grip than in my posterior, which you're like, okay, use straps. I don't know, man. Maybe on this next one I'll try reverse grip. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. We talked about 2 tips for Thanksgiving. We talked about 1 plate. We talked about portion control within that plate. And just to recap, more protein than other things, right? The majority of your plate should be that turkey or that ham, whatever that protein is. You want to do, think like half portions for things like that are carb heavy, like mashed potatoes. Green bean casserole, I would prefer just stewed green beans on their own over like a casserole. That's just gonna be, who knows what's in that thing, right? Unless you cooked it. So deviled eggs, yeah, there's protein. There's a good protein in the egg part of that. And then, man, that little orange ball is full of lots of calories. It's so yummy though, so worth it. And then yeah, for dessert, keep it to 1 dessert. Or like me, 2 halves of a dessert. Or if you're okay with it, just 1/2 of a dessert, right? And be okay with that. Enjoy the Thanksgiving meal, but without overindulging. I think a good litmus test is if you feel like Uncle Rick after the meal and you have to undo your button, you overdid it, right? You overdid it. The goal is to feel satiated, full. Like, that word is hard to say, satiated. I don't even know if that's a proper word for it. You want to feel not hungry. You don't want to feel stuffed. All right, 1 more of these. Let's try split grip. Or split, reverse, whatever it's called. Yeah, and then when I was feeling like my arms were at least on track with my legs as far as feeling exhausted, like I could have, like I'd like to do that next week and see if we can get up to 12 or 13 so we can bump up the weight. Next up is the fabled Nordic curls. I love this workout. Actually, I mean, it's like a love-hate. You can really get sore and feel it after this, but it's also a good feeling. You feel like, I did something good for my body. If you watch Knees Over Toes guy, I highly recommend, by the way, his stuff. He's a big proponent of the Nordic curls for bulletproofing your hamstrings. And there's a reason. The research backs it up, especially if you do any kind of like ongoing sprinting sport, like soccer players in their regiments, like, I mean, at least when you get to college and professional, they're doing Nordics. They're doing Nordics for strength training to both prevent injury and also increase speed. The Nordic hamstring curl is all about eccentric loading. So that's while the muscle is lengthening under load. And that is proven to help with sprinting and hamstring recovery more than concentric, so like hamstring curls, like the machine I said I wish I had. I'm actually okay not having it because I can do these. And I was setting this up without even like realizing it's not very typical. I don't know if you can see. Let's see. Yeah, so I've set up my barbell. I have these rails across the bottom, which is great because you need it to be a little bit elevated, but you don't want it super elevated because this is going to hold your heels down. The whole point about the Nordic is that you start in an upright position on your knees and you go down. That's the lengthening. But obviously to do that, you need something to hold your knees down. If you're on a sports team, you just have a partner do it. If you have the space, you buy a machine. They're dedicated Nordic machines. And I mean, you can drop $2,000 on a machine, I think, but you can also get them for a few $100s. Or if you're a cheapo like me, you can use your barbell. I just use these two bands across the barbell. And then since I'm a little bit of a wimp, I put this mat as a cushion for my knees. And then if you remember, I also have the padding on my knees from the wraps. So that gives me the cushion I need. The bar will keep my heels down, and I'm shooting for 10 of these. I don't use any weight, at least for now. If I get up to like doing 12 of these, then I'll think about just, holding a plate or something like that. So I don't know how well you can see. I'm just sliding my feet underneath the bar so they're on my heel just above. I'll just do the first one and then I'll bring the camera over and show you guys. But you're gonna go controlled down. Your heels are gonna be held down by that bar. Controlled as far as you can go without falling. And you can either curl up. You curl up, but you can either push or try not to push. And that's gonna be more like a, you know, a concentric motion. Not as important. It's still good to do because that's gonna be like full range in both ways, but I usually will put more emphasis on going down and less emphasis on coming up. Like I'll just push myself up just to get back up. So that's 2. And if you can't get all the way down at first, don't worry about it. Progressive overload for you may look like, all right, get to halfway, okay, and then fall. A good place to be is to work up to being able to go all the way down. All right, that's 10. Let's do one more. Ugh. I can be kind of bad about progressively overloading on these because, I mean, man, they are hard. All right, let me show you what's going on over here, if I can. Let me flip this around. All right. So here, focus right there. I've got the bands coming across and just kind of resting on the bar. And that bar is just going across. It's really just setting on these 2 beams. Same thing over here. Now this will be fun. Let's see if I can do this. Now, my feet are coming focus on it for you. I don't know if, hopefully you can see that, but I can't even get my foot like all the way vertical, but I just rest the bar right above, you know, the heel of my shoe. I'm not putting it on the heel of my shoe. I don't want to rip my shoe. I'm just putting it right at the top, just resting it in there. And then when I go down, you know, I'm not like pointing my toe. I'm trying to keep it as kind of flexed as I can. I'm kind of limited by the ground clearance there, but keeping it flexed is going to help with that eccentric, keeping that muscle elongated. And so I'm almost really like kind of going down and trying to keep my toe touching the ground while coming down and just letting that resistance hit. So yeah, I think if you don't have, you know, a ton of money to drop on a Nordic specialty machine, they're usually just like a long pad with like a bracing system, kind of like with a curl, like a regular hamstring, or more like a quad extension machine. So if you don't have the money for that, bing, bam, boom, this works. You can do this in most gyms too, as long as they have, you know, bars down here to rest on. Let's see if we can get this back over here. All right. So we've done 1 set. Let's do set 2. You can also do these, I think, like I almost got a GHD machine at one point. You know, I was just going to throw it in the corner before I put the bikes up. And I think the GHD machine would be cool to have because you can use it for Nordics like this, but you can also use it for all the GHD stuff. So you can use it for all the glute ham combinations. You can use it for full range of motion, like declines, sit-ups, and all that kind of stuff. But this poor man Nordic works really well for me. I think. One. I'm actually realizing as I do this, my toe is coming up a little bit. I'm not fully pressing it against. I'm not fully pressing it against the ground. It's kind of, if it's sitting like this, you know, it's like coming up just barely. Yeah, so Nordics, they're a great little, great little workout to help bulletproof your hamstrings. If you have pulled your hamstring, I highly recommend doing this both as part of rehab and preventative maintenance because all the research says to. When I pulled my hamstring a couple years ago, it just sucks because you can't do any of this leg day. You pretty much can't do it full out. You know, you can't do your squats full out. You can't, you're doing this to rehab. You're doing RDLs and hamstring pulls and all this stuff just to try and get back to where you were. But anyway, so all that to say, it sucks. If you have pulled your hamstring, I highly recommend E3 Rehab. It's a website and a blog, and they have a blog and a YouTube channel and stuff, but I really like their approach to hamstring rehabilitation because they just follow the damn research. They pull like 1 or 2 research papers and then just emulate, just like reproduce what they did in the research papers. And the research papers, the main one that they pull from, it's a study done on soccer players, right? And so they'll look at soccer players who pull their hamstring during the season and how long it takes for them to rehabilitate back to, being able to go back on the field and play. And one of the things, there are different levels of it, and they actually encourage you to sprint during the recovery. They encourage you to not avoid pain like in your normal day-to-day, but like in the actual rehab itself, they will encourage you to like feel a pain of like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like in the 1 to 3 or up to 5 or something like that. So like you'll start with short sprints and you start with like some like glute raises, and just things to kind of just start building that stability. And this is like within days, like as soon as possible after the pull. They encourage you to start walking. There's this idea that movement is medicine, right? That's from Squat University is really big on that. Movement is medicine. Because it is like the whole rest, ice, compression, elevation, it's kind of BS. It's been debunked. Movement is going to get blood flowing through. Blood is going to help you heal. Movement is going to help build those connections back up. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't go over the whole rehab thing. I mean, it's like a whole process. I mean, you can do like a mild pull, like just like a strain. You can be back in like, I don't know, 4 weeks or 6 weeks or something, and then a little bit longer, like 8 to 12 weeks for like a more serious pull. But yeah, last one of these. One. Whoa, man. That one felt rough. All right. Everyone's favorite lift is up next. The Bulgarian split squat. First, let's clean this up. I've also, speaking of rehab, I've never pulled my quad, knock on wood, but my brother has done so a few times. And he says, I sent him the rehab page from that E3 Rehab website, and he said it sucked, but I think in a good way. Right? Like if it sucks, it means that you're working at it and doing good things. So I have worked through also groin pull within the past few years. That was like right after my hamstring. I was getting so into golf. Yes, you heard me right, golf. I pulled my hamstring golfing at the driving range. I was just getting after it. I was just, trying to get that ball to go. And yeah, pulled the hamstring. Or not the hamstring, groin. Can you guys see this setup okay? Maybe down a little bit, over a little bit. 35 pounds, yeah. 35 at 10. All right. So Bulgarian split squat, if you know or don't know, you can do this with a barbell. I'm doing it with dumbbells. We're gonna put one leg back kind of as a tripod just for stability. It's basically like a single leg squat. And you just put that bench is just there to help stabilize. The idea is that all the effort goes on the leg that's squatting. And these are notorious for just like sucking in the best way possible. They will help your like regular squat strength immensely. And also, I found this to be really beneficial for my groin. Something about like, oh, that feels so good on the groin, just like the stretch. And then obviously you're strengthening. Yeah, like I said, it kind of sucks in a good way. This is like the one that gets me sweating the most in the summers. Man, when it's a little more humid down here, good golly, Miss Molly. Guys, that's only 35s. It's like not like crazy amount. Obviously, if I get up to 12, and that's the thing, I'm like, I almost don't want to. This is one of those workouts that's a love-hate. You want to get after it, but it's gonna Gonna tear you up. But I mean, I have definitely seen improvements in my squat, and even just like in my mobility, just the fact that it allows you to go down a little bit more and you're stretching out. It definitely helped me with my hamstring rehab. And I did do hamstring rehab. Like I was doing these like, you know, with I had a resistance band, or like I've done it on the pulley system of eccentric abductions or adductions away from the body, and you know, rotations and all that. And this wasn't in the plan, but when I started just doing back my regular leg day at like a lesser weight, I noticed I could feel like a good kind of tension, a good feeling, like, oh, like that. I can feel my hamstring being activated, or I keep saying hamstring, I can feel my groin being activated in this stretch or in this lift. And again, like not trying to overdo it, but it definitely helped. At least with the groin strain that I had. So any of you golfers out there, maybe I'm the only one who's ever pulled their groin golfing, but yeah, again, E3 Rehab, they've got a good groin rehab plan as well. But then I'd also recommend some lightweight Bulgarian split squats. All right. We'll leave that one at 10. Oh. Oh yeah. It's killer. I think this is the last lift for the day. I do want to talk a little bit more about nutrition. Review yesterday, talk about today. One more Thanksgiving tip. And there's something else. Oh, one more rehab tip. Am I doing them today? No, they're not. They were in my last routine, but I don't have calf raises in my routine this time. But a couple years ago, I was struggling with plantar fasciitis. I decided I was doing this morning workout group called F3. Those of you who do F3, shout out to you. F3 is like a free, workout community for men. It takes place usually in the mornings, like super early outside. It's super fun. It's a good community. That's what I was doing Ultimate Frisbee with, but you can also do like other functional body movements and training, like with cinder blocks and sandbags and stuff. It's really fun. Well, I was an idiot though, and I did a timed mile run, and I'm not a runner. I don't run for fun. The cardio that I do is walking or sprinting. So that mile run just really killed my, in fact, I think it's what started the groin and then killed my heel, my plantar fasciitis. I think just the one thing that helped was, number one, time. Not trying to run outside of my, what I'm used to, pushing myself too hard, not doing that, and calf raises. Specifically, slightly like, de-elevated, like if you can You see how I've got like the plywood in here? Well, that is on top of some other sheet. So I basically have 1.5 inches of depth on the edge of this plywood with the rest of the floor. But you could also just use a plate, right? Like you can stand on a plate and you put your toes up here, and then you start out in this kind of de-elevated position and do your calf raise that way to help get a fuller range of motion. And buddy, let me tell you, to me, that's the secret sauce for plantar fasciitis. Also, I mean, of course, like rolling it out and massaging helps too. They're like foot things you can wear at night to help keep it flexed and stuff. But good old movement is medicine. That's what I have found to work. Oh, buddy. All right, guys. That's all she wrote for the workout. But I do want to talk about nutrition like I promised in that last tip. Okay, yesterday, not Tuesday, yesterday was Wednesday. Just under 1,600 calories, 132 grams of protein. Not great, but you'll see why. Typical breakfast, had my coffee with almond milk, creatine, protein powder. I threw in this protein yogurt as breakfast because I had it at like 11. I didn't want to put it on the lunch. Doesn't really matter where it went. I did have another protein yogurt for lunch, as well as 2 chopsticks and sea salt popcorn. So you're like, well, it's hardly anything. Yeah, I was busy at work. We had a half day, so I was trying to get stuff done. That's another story. Super stressful. I don't feel good about the way I left it, but you know, got a couple of days off for Thanksgiving. We'll come back Monday and fix it. I was planning on having a great dinner of Mexican cabbage soup with venison. That was going to be low calorie, high protein. My wife wanted to go to this local place. It's kind of like the Chipotle for pasta. And so I was like, well, I don't really have the, enough protein to do pasta. So they had a Southwest spicy, like chicken salad. And this is where estimating comes in. I'm like, I have no idea how many calories that is, but it looks pretty close to what you would get at Chipotle or Chick-fil-A. So I've gotten their spicy Southwest salad before. I don't know if this includes the dressing or not. I didn't put dressing on mine. I don't think it does. But I mean, even if you just did the Chick-fil-A, you can see it's 34 grams of protein for 420 calories. So it's not like the highest protein, but like for fast food, are you kidding? That's pretty good. It would be even more protein to calorie ratio if you did grilled chicken. So that was a fun thing. So I was still pretty low on calories. So I, in fact, before dinner, I was feeling hungry. So I had a couple of pickles. Pickles are great. Pickles, cucumbers, carrots, super low calorie, but they will like help fill your stomach and also healthy. Anyone else like pickle juice? I like to just drink pickle juice. It's just like straight vinegar. It's yummy. So then I had some time. I went to the store and grabbed some protein treats. So I actually got this new Barabells protein bar. 200 calories for 20 grams of protein. Not bad. I mean, it's kind of calorie dense, but it was really yummy and it had protein. And then like right after dinner, I also had this protein ice cream, which again, it's not quite 10 grams of protein to 100 calories like I like, but like for ice cream, pretty dang good. The only other thing that comes close is like Halo Top, and that's just like less calories, but also less protein. And then capped it off with some gum just to keep myself from eating anything else the rest of the night. So that's where we ended up. Calories are okay. Calories were good. Protein was okay. For today, my last tip for Thanksgiving is to pre-enter it. Like estimate what you're gonna eat right off the bat. I had this turkey breast and gravy, like this like pre-packaged meal from Target at one point, and it was like the whole thing, you know, is like a pound of turkey and gravy or whatever. So I was like, that's a pretty good estimate. I think that's probably, I can visualize what that was. It's like this little rectangle, and I can estimate that on my plate, and then I can always swap it out later, right? When I go to sit down, I can just delete this and then measure the actual turkey if I wanted. Estimating green beans, these would be like at a restaurant that's a serving size, like a little cup on the side. Deviled eggs, I'd like to have 3. I'm estimating mashed potatoes. This is our homemade recipe, which just like includes butter and milk, things that you typically put in mashed potatoes. An estimate on gravy, and then I just have 1 pumpkin pie on here for now. I should probably add cinnamon roll. And I happen to have the recipe that my sister makes. And I know that about 90 is about 1. So I'll say 45 grams should be about half. That's the other thing I love about, if you have a calorie tracker app, the ability to input your own recipes is huge. Because once you do it once, you have it. So I have that in, and I have my coffee. So I know that is pretty much almost all of my 1,600 calories, but that's okay. I'm actually okay having another, 8, 9, maybe even 1,000 calories today. So that leaves me room for like a little snack before we go, kind of between breakfast and lunchtime. And then like some kind of light dinner, maybe some Mexican cabbage soup, since I know that that's pretty low calorie, some carrots, pickles, a salad or something. But that allows me to have a good time at lunch, at Thanksgiving lunch. And same thing works, if it's dinner, you put it in for dinner and then just plan on having a lower calorie lunch. Or if you're able to, fast until then, great. There's kind of like pros and cons of that. Yes, you have more calories to spend, but then you're going to be super hungry. Or you're going to be able to control your urges after fasting for that long. So that's the tip. Pre-plan. Don't go in without a plan. Even if you just write it down on pen and paper, go into the meal with the plan in hand and then execute that plan. So try to stick with 1 plate. Try to think about the ratios and the portions on your plate. Try to favor more protein, and then pre-plan it. Go ahead and go so far as to enter the actual amounts in your meal planner, in your tracker. So that's food for the day. Now we'll look at weight. Weight went down today to 194.4. So we lost like a pound. I don't know where that pound came from. And it's not like I went, pee multiple times over the night. I just did my typical, like once early morning and then once right when I woke up, I slept in. So it was a little bit later. But yeah, so that has already put our average down to 195.9, which is about 196, which is, I mean, pretty much right where we want to be for this week. I'm happy about that. I'm glad that I dropped that weight today because tomorrow it's going to go up. So I know the other day I predicted that this week will probably end up being above 196, probably like 197, maybe hopefully just high at 197, not 198 again. But again, taking out whatever happens today, like between today and tomorrow with water weight, which is probably mostly what it will be. Again, if I stay under my maintenance calories, I shouldn't actually gain any fat, technically speaking. Take that for what it's worth. So I can see that this is trending down. The average should be okay. And then we'll just go back into next week knowing that there shouldn't be any anomalies. And yeah, continue from there. That's it. Thanks for following. Good luck. All right, I mean, you're probably watching this after Thanksgiving because I'm like a day delayed in uploading them. Or maybe I'll try and get it up right now. We'll see. Either way, good luck with Thanksgiving or better luck next year based off what you see here. And I may or may not see you tomorrow. Probably it's a day off. I don't have work, so if it's super nice, maybe I'll try to golf, or maybe we'll be back in here for an arm day.